Hello, 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 and welcome to this year's Christmas special. Now, the year has flown by. It's both been a wonderful year and a challenging year, but I'll think and talk about that in the annual roundup in a few days' time. Today, I want to share with you a follow-up to a very special video from last year. You may recall this time last year we received a question of doom from an archaeologist called Marion. Now, Marion had been afforded a very special opportunity. She was going to be the archaeologist doing the investigation and potential excavation ahead of a development in Santa's Grotto in Lapland. They were going to be expanding part of a toy factory there, and it was thought that this might actually encroach onto an area where Santa seemed to recall that many years ago there was a previous factory. So she was actually brought in to be the archaeologist who would do the investigation to see if there was anything there and what was there before the building went ahead. Now, I'm happy to say that actually everything went smoothly. Over the course of the year, Marion's excavation proceeded, not only unhindered, but also really supported by the community in Santa's compound. Now, of course, digging where she was, it wasn't easy. The conditions weren't exactly ideal, but she managed to make many interesting finds, and she managed to build on the desk-based assessment that she asked us to do last year. Now, she was so nervous that really she might get it wrong. After all, Santa's Grotto, Santa's compound more specifically, not just the house and the grotto, but the compound, is a site of such international historic significance that she wanted some advice. And the desk-based assessment that we did last year, you can find a link to that in the video information just below, but also if you're watching on PC, you can click just here and you can go and watch the video and then come back. But in summary, what the findings we made were that she may well come across a two-phase structure, a stone and a wooden structure, linked with wooden toy production and also candy cane production. And I'm happy to say that not only was the desk-based assessment useful, but also she's been able to confirm, challenge, and also add to many of the findings that we suggested that she may well make. So this is really proving the validity of archaeology as an investigative, well, step, as a stage in understanding a site. You know, you've got the history, you've got the maps, but sometimes digging is what you need to do. Now, as I say, everything went fairly smoothly, and for the most part she was able to confirm the two-phase structure, the wooden and the stone elements to the building. And actually within, she did almost immediately find evidence of toy production. So for example, here we have a spirit level. The spirit level is really rather nice actually. It's a small little thing, but then again elves are quite small, and it was found sealed in the burning layer. You may recall in the desk-based assessment we thought the factory had burned down on a very dramatic night in 1910. This we think was probably well, an elf's spirit level for getting wooden toys right. Interestingly though, made in Birmingham, so Santa was sourcing his stuff from the UK in order to make toys. But again, wonderful, made out of wood and brass, and basically it's just a really nice little object. There were also elements such as this, for example, old paintbrushes, and again, just confirming what was happening on the site. Wooden toy production, manual or rather elf labour, and lots of it. And most of this stuff was actually so well sealed that it's actually fairly stable. I'm able to pick it up without using gloves. Really exciting things, which actually Marion really wanted to share with you as well. So she found evidence of the toy production occurring on the site, and of course she was always going to. This is Santa's compound, that's what they do, isn't it? But actually, quite interestingly, she found elements of wooden toy I suppose preparation. So for example, we have various wooden blocks and chunks which are in the process of almost being finished. So we have two lovely blocks there, one with orange with yellow stars and green with red dots. There's an orange block here, which actually has a hole in it, and the hole we think is probably linked with being part of a composite, part of a toy. So it's going to be added onto something at some point in the not too distant future. A little bit like, for example, here we have a wooden toy fire truck where these have holes in because you can actually take the truck apart. So we think that's probably what's going on here. But again, all part of this investigation and really confirming what's going on the site. So good archaeology and good solid evidence that she was uncovering. Now the the other element which I actually found really exciting was she actually found complete toys as well. So here is a lovely wooden truck. You can pull it along on its string just there, which is really quite nice, and a yellow cab on the truck, again painted on using things like that paintbrush there, big solid red wooden wheels, and also an articulated crane on the back, which is quite nice, and on the bottom a little magnet, so you can pick up blocks probably with little metal bits on top and then move them to other places. So again, really solid evidence of toy production occurring in Santa's compound at this time. But again, that's the sort of stuff which we always sort of expected to find. We had our fingers crossed, and Marion definitely did come through on that. Now, the thing that I found most interesting was that you may recall in the 1950s there was an investigation where an archaeologist suggested a very specific stratigraphy, including candy cane melt layers, so where the fire had burned and melted elements of the candy cane production process, and there'd been a flash sort of melting and then freezing event, which actually resulted in candy cane in the stratigraphy of the site. Now we have here some pieces from that stratigraphy. You might just about be able to see the little lines on the sugar just here from the candy cane. This is actually candy cane melt, a melting event, and it's really great to actually find evidence of that stuff. It's really brittle, and what was most surprising is that you may recall that in the inventory there was the suggestion that there was really only cherry syrup linked with these candy canes, but actually when you smell it, it smells of peppermint. Now this is really exciting because it means that the archaeologists confirmed that not only was cherry being used but also mint flavour as well. And there's a piece of the candy cane just here. I'm just gonna, yep, definitely mint flavour, and also again so well preserved that it is edible. Now don't worry, I have asked permission to do that. I'm not just eating Marion's evidence. But again, really nice to actually find evidence of this stuff. This is the value of archaeology. You can do all the depth-based assessment you want, but until you dig, you won't actually know what is or isn't on a site. Now, you may recall that Tarnar's letter confirmed that the elves were living above the factory and using the heat of the day, the busy factory during the day, to keep them warm at night. The heat would rise into the rafters, as it were, of the building. Sadly, we weren't able to find any evidence of the living quarters. Marion didn't really come across any domestic activities being found on the site. Then again, the roof, the top of the building, probably was the first thing to really burn, and really consistently burn and then collapse. So we're not that surprised not to find things like beds and clothes. But she has come across things like this. For example, there's a lovely bottle opener. Again from around about 1910, made out of brass and probably used by the elves for their evening tipple. So some evidence of activities which weren't just to do with toy production, and this bottle opener really sort of goes some way to confirming that element of Tarnar's letter. The night, I believe, or sorry, the day rather, after the burning event. Now in the 1950s excavation, it seems that lots of this material had been burned and melted and then fallen into a ditch, a defensive ditch on the edge of the compound, what was the historic line of the compound. And this was really linked with the ancient use of the compound as a defensive area. People were very eager in the late first millennium AD to get hold of Santa's presence. They thought he was mustering too much power for himself, and therefore they had to do lots of defence. Now this ditch was recovered, it was re-uncovered rather, it was by Marion, confirming the earlier archaeology, but also as well she was able to find elements of defence, or rather defensive offence. So for example, there's a stone which has been inscribed with Elvish script, probably some sort of curse, so when you chuck the stone it'll hit the enemies of Santa. These were very dark days, you have to remember, very sort of brutal times, long ago. But also as well, they found part of a sword, and actually they've been able to reconstruct what the sword probably looked like. A very rough sketch, but nonetheless you can see that this ancient use of the site has been confirmed through the archaeology. Now I did suggest that she might want to have a bit of a chat with Santa about this. After all, he is an ancient man. You can probably remember the use of the site as a fortress as much as anything else, and through some limited interview access, actually some limited talking, she was able to get well, the following statement as read by an actor.
Well, you must understand, these were very different times. Many in the north thought me the king of the Norse gods, Odin. Instead of reindeer, I supposedly had an 8-legged horse. Every year I would, of course, leave presents for girls and boys at the bottom of their beds, but this led to more rumours of a god with unlimited resources to make toys. Power-hungry kings raised armies to take the compound, wanting my elves to produce weapons of war. Of course, we could not let this happen, so we built the walls to defend ourselves. I couldn't possibly comment on our defensive strategies, though. You understand.
Now there's one more artefact which was recovered from the fortress layout of the site, which I've kept till last because it's just so exciting, and that is this artefact here. Quite a complex, almost wooden machine. Now, almost certainly it's linked with timekeeping. We've been able to figure that out because of the hands on the front of the thing, and it does flip over. But this is from a time, before the site was being intensively used for toy production. So, for example, shift monitoring wouldn't necessarily have been done like this. It would have been done with the sun and the moon, you know, this kind of thing. Marion is tentatively calling this the Santa's compound Antikythera mechanism, or rather the Santa mechanism. And I think with some more research we really could get to the bottom of this sort of, I suppose, dendro technology, this wooden technology. Just as astonishing as the Antikythera mechanism is in terms of automatons and computing and this kind of thing for the ancient Greeks, this from 1,000 years ago could be for the Arctic, and for Lapland, a very important discovery. Again, I'm able to handle it just because it's been preserved so well, but if you have any thoughts as to what this might be for, we really would appreciate them. As I say, you've got these hands, it does turn, the numbers turn as well, so you have numbers able to change, and it's a beautiful object, but what exactly it was used for, it's so hard to say. So please do share your thoughts below. Is this the Santa's Grotto Antikythera mechanism? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but this could be a groundbreaking discovery. So there we have it. That's really the mainstay of the post-excavation work so far. Lots of things confirming the desk-based assessment suppositions that I made last year. Some elements challenging that stuff, and in particular, for example, the presence of mint in the production of candy canes. That we only found through excavation, and that's really exciting stuff. And also, finally, that remarkable mechanism. Truly astonishing. So hopefully you've been just as excited to hear about this stuff as I was, and I can't wait to see what else Marion goes on to uncover and to I suppose to bring to light surrounding Santa's compound in Lapland. Astonishing archaeology being done by an astonishing archaeologist. Anyway guys, as ever, do take care until next time. This is probably going to be the last video that you see until the annual roundup around New Year's Eve. So whatever you've got planned in this festive time, whether it's a Christmas feast, a Saturnalia symposium, or something in between, some sort of just solstice revelry, have a wonderful, wonderful time, and just enjoy yourselves. I know I plan to enjoy myself. Mrs. Soup and I have got big plans, and also actually her parents and my brother-in-law are over, so we're going to have a lovely time here at Archaeosoup Towers. Anyway, as I say, do take care and Merry Christmas.